Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Good for you to see me. I've been sick. The Singing Tree. I found some more of those other books in my shed, so I'll have them ready for next. I believe this is a short chapter, and I thought about reading two until, as I mentioned just a moment ago, I was in the shed. So I'm very tired, so it may be a short chapter. I think it was. We will see again. Chapter 9, Light a Candle. Father was home for at least 6 months, but possibly more. As the doctors had said, by that time the war might be over. Just might, because Serbia was conquered. The huge Russian army on the run. And the Holocaust that shook France, Belgium, and Italy seemed very far away from the sun-drenched farm. The children and the doctor had become great friends. First, it looked as if they would have to leave Father in the hospital until mysterious items such as identification papers, leave of absence, and other tongue-twisting nonsense as far as Jancy was concerned could be arranged. But Kate showed, page 191, all the signs of producing another hair-raising trumpet call. Grandmother declared that just came was really the finger of destiny for producing 5 kittens practically on the bed of a missing man, and only fools would battle against destiny. The doctor, she said, didn't look like a fool, so surely he could do something to let Father go home. Besides, just came and the 5 little just cames would need a lot of milk. And was the doctor going to rob sick men of precious milk to feed it to a bunch of no-good cats? She took back the no good at a glance from Lily. All right, my child, my old ears have been deafened by the guns. I couldn't hear the weak call of a cat for a little kindness. We thank you for sharp ears and a pitying heart. The doctor smiled then. Thank just came. She had it all planned. Look at her. She is laughing at us poor humans who cannot see in the dark. They stood around the large basket the nurse had found, admiring just came. She looked back at them through eyes half closed with bliss, needing the bed of surgical dressing. 5 tiny blind mites of nondescript color swarmed around her, not at all aware of the ring of giants surrounding their nest, and not giving a hoot about the wonderful part they had played in some human's life. One family of cats will never have to worry about a good home again. I can see that, chuckled the doctor. These, cried Jancy, they can have a bath in milk every day if they want to. I'd even milk a special cow for them myself. You come with me, Jancy, said the doctor then. We'll see to the little chiefs and the big chief. You tell them about your father, and the farm, and the cats, and everything, and maybe, just maybe, they'll let you take Father home. There was more to it than that, though. The doctor had to produce charts and x-rays to prove Father was all right. Then there was a delay until telegrams and telephone calls proved that Father was really the one he said he was. Plain foolishness, thought Jancy. Couldn't they see that Father was all right? And did they think he would lie? But by next morning, everything had been arranged, even to borrow a lieutenant's uniform for Father, from corporal to lieutenant in a year. Pretty good, Lieutenant Nagy. An officer with a lot of gold braid all over him, said to Father, and a handful of medals to catch up with you, as I heard. What did you do? Father looked him straight in the eye. The muscles in his jaws were working. I don't know, sir. I would rather not try to remember. The officer sighed. Go home, Lieutenant. Forget if you can. I wish I could. It was late evening when the wagon turned the last turn into the road leading home. The house glowed with candlelight. Father said in a husky voice, "You children drive to the barn, and you don't dare come home to the house before I call you. Understand? Grandpa, 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 Grandma, and I will walk in." I'll read that last section again. It was late in the evening when the wagon turned the last turn in the road leading home. The house glowed with candlelight. Father said in a husky voice, "You children drive to the barn, and don't you dare come to the house before I call you. Understand? Grandpa, Grandma, and I will walk in." Page 193. Yes, sir. The three dogs barked like mad and suddenly stopped and whined their welcome. The children waited in the dark until the door had opened and closed, and then Jancy said, clucking to the horses, "He didn't want us to see them cry. I know. He knew. Didn't joy and happiness make a baby out of him in that hospital?" Grigory was the first to welcome them in the barn, blinking because he had fallen asleep in the hay. The first words he said, "No dead chicken, no dead Russian." Kate, Lily, and Jancy, talking all at once, tried to tell him the great news. All he could understand for a while was the basket of cats. "Ho, little cat," he grinned, holding up 5 fingers. "Mamushka cat, Grigory. Lil cat, Peter, Nikolai, Sergey. Listen, Grigory," Jancy tugged at him. "Big boss here, big boss home, understand?" Grigory's mouth fell open. "Big boss home, ho, ho. Stana, Nikolai, Sergey, Peter, Peter, come." He bellowed, and the Russians swarmed in front of the dark. Jancy say, "Big boss home." "Good," they questioned Jancy. "All good. Leg, arm, head, belly, all good." "Yes, yes. Me go see." Grigory lunged to the barn door, but Jancy held him back. "Not now. He's in the house with Mother." "Ho," nodded the 6 Russians understandingly. "Mamushka cry. Big boss cry. All same. Rusko. Magyarsko. Sad. No cry. Happy. Cry. All same." There was a little silence when the 6 Russians looked into the future and saw themselves going home. Grigory smiled at what he saw. Sure, Grigory big man. Grigory ball. Like cow. When he see Russian Mamushka. "Like a bull," Grigory giggled Kate. "Ho, cow, bull, big like Grigory, ball, all same." Then he winked ponderously at Kate. "Chicken make much egg for Grigory. Me do all time now?" "All right," sighed Kate. "You can take care of the chickens, and I'll make new shirts for you all." "Oh, plenty pretty flower on shirt, like Russia." Yes, only these will be Hungarian flowers on the shirts." I know," she laughed when Grigory opened his mouth. "All same, Rusko, Magyarsko." Magyarsko is Hungarian. "Sure, all same," the 6 Russians nodded happily. They couldn't do enough for Father from that night on. They welcomed him like a long-lost friend, pounding him on the back and exploring him for injuries with clumsy fingers until one of them noticed the gold star on his collar. "Ho, officer!" Sergey explained, and all of them stood at attention. Father laughed. "Listen, men, I am a farmer, and you are farmers. We are..." "All same," giggled Kate. But Grigory shook his head. "No, all same, little devil. He big boss, he good man, write good book. Grigory, Sergey, Nikolai, Stana, Peter, do what big boss say. Little devil do same, little devil grow big, fat Mamushka. Little devil no do same, she be dead, little devil, Grigory do." "I lost that courage." Found it. Kate laughed. "I'll take the chickens away from you if you talk like that." But Grigory had other ideas. He put his hand to his ear and grinned at Father. "Big boss, hear little noise?" Big boss say, Grigory do chicken. Grigory do. Big boss say, Grigory jump. In well. Grigory jump. Little devil make noise? Grigory no hear. And that was that. Even Jancy couldn't give them orders. You little boy now, Jancy. Sergei waved him aside. Go play. Big boss away, you work. He won't go away for a long time, Sergei beamed Jancy. The doctor said he needed rest. After Christmas, he will have to report to the hospital, but by that time, the war will be over. Maybe, grunted Sergei, not very reassuringly. Go play, Jancy. You little boy for a little time now. So Jancy had time to take long rides to the corrals and plan for new foals with old Arpad and tramp to the brook with the girls to pick flowers and romp with the dogs and cats. He was a boy again, not because Sergei ordered him to be, but because a miracle had brought Father home whole, unharmed, and given Jancy a little time to be what he was, a 15-year-old child. Father never spoke of the war, and soon they all learned not to ask about it, because then the face would darken as if he were in pain. Once in a while he told small, poignant stories, but there were no cannon belching, death, or wounded screaming for mercy in the memories he shared with his father. Orange Gatorade, sugar-free. Once in a while he's told small, poignant stories, but there were no cannon-belching death or wounded screaming for mercy in the memories he shared with his family. He spoke of the small bird with the broken wing one of the men had picked up, and how the little bird had become tame during the weeks its wing was healing, and how they had let it go on a September morning, and how it sang to them before it soared away. About lone dogs guarding ruins of houses, and of cats waiting for a door to open that had no walls around it. In the quiet pool of respite from worry dropped news from outside. Romania entering the war in August, the death of old Emperor Franz Joseph in November. As withered leaves dropped into a pond, causing hardly a ripple. Christmas came again. The kitchen door was open on Christmas Eve for the Christ child who had already brought precious gifts. Lily's father was home on leave and brought his frail wife to the farm for a few days. There was a long letter from Uncle Sandor, written in August to be sure, but it had come the day before Christmas. There was a photograph in it of himself with a Russian family. He was standing behind a softly smiling tall girl, and underneath he had written, Sonia, she is very kind. She sends her love to a little devil who loves Russians. There were gifts for everyone under the tree. Grigory, Stana, Nikolai, Sergei, and the two Peters couldn't wait for Christmas Day to put on the embroidered shirts Kate and Lily had made for them. They tore out to the barn with their packages and strutted back all dressed, and then they proceeded to kiss the whole gathering, including Major Kormos and father. Stick those shirt tails into your trousers, Grigory, laughed Kate. Those are Hungarian shirts. Maybe. Pants, Russian pants. No can stick shirt tail in Russian pants, Grigory protested. Father had saved one story for Christmas Eve and told it while the candles were burning on the tree. The faint sound of village church bells coming across the plains made his story of another Christmas Eve sound like a song of hope. Hope that maybe kindness and love of peace will be strong enough to stop the war soon. For the first time, he spoke of things like offensive, march, trenches, shell fire, but the dark picture these words created was only a backdrop against which his story of human souls shone all the brighter. Last Christmas Eve, he began, we had received orders to be prepared for a surprise attack against the Russians. Our trenches had been under heavy fire for days. We had either to retreat or to advance, and those who planned the moves of war decided on an advance. We had been waiting for hours, crouching against the walls of our trenches. Then the word came, "Go!" We crept out into the snow, countless silent dark shapes against the whiteness, and ran to the sunken road which lay between our lines and the mountainside where the Russian trenches were. Shells screamed overhead and burst behind us, drowning out all noise we might have made. And when we reached the road, whispered orders from the captain scurried down the line like mice. "Advance along the road. Don't dare make a sound or strike a light." We tramped in knee-deep snow, skirting the friendly hillside that sheltered us from the fire, stealing toward the Russians. And then, just ahead of me, I saw a boy kneel in the snow before a wayside crucifix and light a candle. It flickered in the still air, casting a feeble light on the image of Christ above it. "Oh Lord," the man next to me sighed, reaching into his knapsack for a candle. Others had seen the glowing light, and as I looked around, I saw that more and more candles were lighted all around. A whisper spread, like the order from the captain, from mouth to mouth, only this was not an order from the captain. "Light a candle for Christmas Eve," men whispered, and their very words seemed to turn into tiny stars, as dozens and dozens, then hundreds of candles came forth from the knapsacks to be lighted and struck in the snow. The hillside now was one glow of light, and the crucifix was bright with an unearthly brightness. We were a target for the Russian guns, but we never gave it a thought. For a little while we were lost in prayer, until one of the men cried, "They have stopped firing. Look!" Across the valley, on the hillside where the Russians were entrenched, a few small flames began to tremble. Then more and more. Candles, hundreds of them, thousands, one for every gun that now was silent. Around me, men began to sing, "Holy night, silent night," and from across the valley the song came back to us 1,000-fold. Behind the lines, so facing each other, the guns had ceased to roar, and no more shells were screaming between men and the stars. Perhaps the Christ child had walked between the lines, and while he walked, peace had stayed the guns. Father had finished his story. Lily's mother held out her hand to him. "Thank you, Martin. I'll never forget this night." Kate sighed, a long, tremulous sigh. "Oh, that was beautiful. What happened after?" Father shivered, as if with the cold, and rose to close the door. Only then did he answer. "The candles burned down, Kate, and darkness closed in again. Let those who made the war hear the story of what happened after. Let them see." He lifted his arm and covered his eyes, but when he looked up, his face was smiling. "Oh no, this is another Christmas Eve, and the Christ child must not find hate in our hearts, only pity for those who are responsible. For there is no man on earth wicked enough to have knowingly unleashed this power of darkness upon mankind." Knowingly, no, but it was loose, this power called the war. And while it was roaming the earth, no one could hold peace and happiness for long. It still demanded heartbreak and tears and helpless suffering from all those whose lives it couldn't take. Lily's father had to leave soon after Christmas, but her mother stayed on. She said that all the doctors and nurses in the hospital had not done her as much good as a week on this peaceful farm. "Stay here with us then," cried Mother. "Yes, I would like to, and I felt that I was coming home when I first saw the lighted windows from the lane. The very trees on the lane seemed to whisper, 'Come, we will lead you home.' Then Father went to report to the hospital, and this time Mother and Jancy went with him. The doctors found that in body he was sound, but only time, long months, or even years, could make him forget the things he never spoke about. There are none braver than he is, the doctor told Mother. But the human mind can stand just so much of horror and no more. We dare not take the risk of sending him back to war." "Thank God," Mother had exclaimed, and the doctor smiled very sadly. "I hear that every day now, wives, mothers, thanking the Lord for an injury to their beloved ones have received, a broken bone, a brave mind darkened with nameless fear. Anything that takes a long time to heal has become a blessing, a gift. They are safe for a little while longer." "Big boss come home? Maybe war over," Grigory wanted to know when they had come home with Father. Jancy tried to explain, and then he thought Grigory didn't understand, because for a long while he didn't say anything, and then he sighed. "Grigory no, here Jancy. Bad man, stupid man, he go kill and laugh. Good man, man with good heart, good head, no can kill and laugh, he cry inside. Baby cry with big noise, man cry, no noise. But it hurt very bad, me know. More white envelopes were coming to the village now than ever since the war had started. The hands of Uncle Moses began to tremble. And he seemed to grow smaller, more bent. Aunt Sarah was like a silent little wraith, going from house to comfort, to help, or just to sit, holding the hand of a woman who would never wait for the mail again, because there was no one left to write her. Often she and the priest met in one of the houses, and the priest would deeply bow to her. Once he told Father, "She seems to give more comfort, more strength to these poor women than I can." No one knew that one white envelope had found its way to the little store until one day in March, Jancy had asked, "Uncle Mo, you haven't told me anything about Aaron and Dr. Sam. How are they?" Uncle Moses smiled, a smile bleaker than pale winter sunlight trembling on snow. "They are both well, thank you, Jancy. Aaron is coming home on leave in April, and Sam has gone to Joseph 2 weeks ago." "Uncle Mo," stammered Jancy, searching for words and finding none, but Uncle Moses began to shuffle some papers. He held a newspaper out to Jancy. "Take this home, Jancy. There is something in here that will interest your father." "I marked it." "Yes, Uncle Mo," whispered Jancy, who had learned that there are hurts so deep that one cannot reach them or heal them with words. He had to leave Uncle Moses with a wintry little smile and trembling hands, staring at nothing in the dark store. "At nothing, Mother," he sobbed against her heart, and she stroked his head. "No, son. He was just looking at things that might have been, but for the war. He is the strongest man I know. Father spoke from behind the paper. He is not looking back, but ahead. That makes him strong. Thinking of the living, not the dead. Look what he has sent me. The article Uncle Moses had sent was one about the blockade against Germany. France and England had closed all the roads on land and sea which might carry food to Germany. They were being starved into defeat, and German children were without milk or any nourishing food. The Hungarian issued a plea to farmers to take children, as many as they could feed, children who were the most helpless sufferers in the war. Father looked up at Mother's face. "We have a large house," he said, but it sounded like a question. She smiled. "And a small family. I remember, Martin. But now we have a large house and a large family, and it will still be larger. I would feed an army of hungry children if we could. Let's start with 5. That's a lucky number," he smiled at Lily. 5 blind kittens have found me, and we will give each of them a child to play with." Mother began to laugh. "Just came is ahead of you, Martin. There are 6 more in the hayloft." "All spoken for," Jancy announced, smiling. "If Just Came has 50 kittens, they will all have homes, and every child in the village wants one of the lucky kittens to..." His face saddened. "To find their fathers for them. Some of them don't even know." Father broke in, his face too dark with pain. 5 children then, Mother? Little tow-headed Germans? 6, Martin, please. 1 for each kitten and 1 for baby Panny. That makes how many additions to a small family of 3? Let's count. Begin with Kate. Father was smiling again. Kate, Sandor, Lily, her mother now, Grigory, Sergei, Nikolai, Stana, Peter, Mari, baby Panny, Grandma, Grandpa, and 6 little tow-headed Germans to come. 20, cried Mother, throwing up her hands. "Don't forget the 3 dogs, and I don't know how many kittens," grinned Jancy. "Well," Father sighed, "quite a houseful. Well, we will have been blessed with a home that can take care of them. Tomorrow I shall ride into town with Jancy and make out the papers." Once again, the town hall of the same railroad town. Father and son bent over long sheets of paper. Get a boy or 2, Father, please, if you can. There are too many women on the place." "How about the Russians?" laughed Father. They aren't boys, and it would be nice to show a boy my herd and maybe teach him to ride, and he could help me break in my horses." "How old?" asked Father, holding his pen over the line. "State age preferred." My age, a little younger. A boy like I was 3 years ago. 15 is too old to play." "Oh, son," this was almost a groan. "Son, don't say that." "Why, Father? Isn't 15 a man?" "Yes, of course," said Father, bending over the sheet. "How can I tell him," he thought, "that there are no more boys such as he was 3 years ago? Boys full of fun, playing games under an unclouded sky, living from day to day carefree like puppies. Boys who hadn't been forced into manhood to see this waste, this inhuman struggle. Boys such as my little Jancy was 3 years ago." He couldn't tell him that. He only wrote age preferred 12. "And the girls?" He turned to Jancy once again. "I'm getting 3 of each kind," he smiled. "I don't care. Make them small, smaller than Kate and Lily, little ones who still respect a man. How soon can we get them?" he asked eagerly. "How soon will they come?" Mother asked each day, impatiently. "How soon?" Kate and Lily wanted to know as they sorted out clothes and shoes and small boots and toys for the unknown children. "Little German, come." Nikolai and Sergei and Stana and Grigory and the 2 Peters came to look in the wagon every day. 1 little German for 1 big Russian. The coming of 6 hungry children was far more important than the news that a new menace had crushed all hope for an early peace. America, the country across the ocean, was sending men into the war too. It made little difference now. Page 209. It made little difference now which side of the warring forces America would help. A new, fresh power in the war between almost exhausted adversaries could only prolong the agony of all. So at the end of June, almost on the day when the first American troops landed in France to be thrown into the maws of the war, 6 tow-headed little Germans arrived on a Hungarian farm to be nursed back into health and strength. After the fresh troops went into action, an American general in Flanders wrote in his book, "Lost 10,000 men, advanced 3 miles." Mother was writing too. She wrote, "Lottie, 6 years old, weighs 35 pounds. Marie, 6 years old, weighs 37. Pauline, 6 years old, weighs 40. Hans, 12 years old, weighs 65. Paul, 12 years old, weighs 70. Johann, 11 years old, weighs 62. When on July 6th, 1917, the general sent a cable to Washington. He said, "Plans should contemplate sending over at least 1 million men by next May." Mother wrote in her book all the same day, "All gained at least 2 pounds." On July 7th, the general wrote, "Plans for the future should be based on at least 3 million men." On that day, Mother said to Father, "I had stopped weighing them. They are all gaining like piglets." Of these 2 keeping records, Mother was far the happier. Chapter X, coming tomorrow. It wasn't a short chapter. I enjoyed reading it.